Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 143. And today, our guest is Gordan Orlic, and he's going to talk to us about running a successful plugin development shop. Gordan, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us all about you?
Hi, thank you for having me. First of all, 143. Congratulations. I wasn't
Thanks.
aware that's a big number. So I run a small development shop called Web Factory. We specialize in WordPress. If it's not WordPress, we don't touch it. That's something I learned the hard way. We mostly do white label plugins. Sometimes we do themes and very, very, very little custom client work. This is something that I can say today. It wasn't so like a year ago or 2 years ago. So, as time progresses, we change our focus. But WordPress, it's always the keyword for us.
Definitely. I also want to introduce my co-host, Jonathan Denwood. Jonathan, tell us who you are.
Yeah, thanks, John. Well, basically, I'm the founder of WP-Tonic, folks. We are a maintenance support company for solely WordPress. And we also do custom plugins, themes for consultants, designers, or anybody that wants a quality partner. And I'm ill today, aren't I, John?
It sounds like you got a bit of a cold, yes.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of cold, and I've had technical problems because I'm from my office, aren't I? I'm a mess today, aren't I, John?
Everybody has a day like that.
Yeah, thank God for the support of John Locke. There we go.
Oh, too kind. And speaking of which, I am John Locke. I am the other co-host of the podcast, and my business is Lockdown Design, which is also a WordPress company. And I am the opposite of you, Gordan. I do mostly client work and, specifically help people with a little bit of their SEO and, setting up WooCommerce. First thing I want to ask you, one thing that's always intriguing to me is people's origin story and how did you get into web development? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I've started doing PHP on college. So, C, C#, PHP, you touch everything. And I really liked PHP because it wasn't such a stickler for variable types. Although now I can say that's a bad thing, but when you're young. So one day somebody asked me to look at something on WordPress. And I've actually never heard of WordPress till that day. And I looked at it, I liked it. And for the first couple of years, I did some projects on WordPress while I was still developing some custom CMSs in PHP, because every good developer has a custom CMS. I don't know, as years passed, I started thinking to myself that it's stupid to code things that others have coded. Not others, like 100 people took 10,000 hours to do something. Why should I do it again? I mean, I'm not that smart. So I've started using other people's code, or WordPress to be more precise.
Excellent. So, one thing that a lot of people don't know is when you first started, you were doing a lot of client work, but gradually you made the transition to doing, plugins and selling products. How did that transition come about?
Well, I wouldn't call it a finite process. It goes on in waves. For one reason, because your income goes up and down depending on how plugins, everything has its low and high points. So when your plugins are not selling, you have a client, you think yourself, oh, let me do this for him. It's only going to take a few days, then it takes a few months. So again, you're then thinking to yourself, I'm not touching any clients in the next 5 years, so you do plugins. It's a chicken egg situation, because on one hand, you need time to develop plugins, which time equals money, obviously. And when you're done developing, then shit begins. Then you actually have to sell it, which can go very wrong, and it can also go very right. It's a hit and miss. There's no science to it. And when you miss, well, you can stick to it, push on, or you can just throw it in the garbage and go back to client work. Now, I have been very fortunate and have never ran the company into ground. So, we do okay, but there's definitely months when you're looking at the bills and thinking, if we don't make X $1,000 selling plugins, we really need to get some clients. And I have never, ever advertised my client work. People always came to us, which is a good thing because you can mostly filter out the idiots. No offense to anybody. So at certain point, nobody calls you. It's, I don't know, Christmas or Easter or summer or whatever. Nobody's calling. Nobody's, asking, can you do this or that? So you panic. And I think that's the problem for most people. They panic. That's a realistic situation because, you have to put food on the table. So at the end of the month, if you don't have X dollars, you can't put food on the table, so you have to do something. And that's the point when you make bad decisions, rash decisions. So to anybody who's trying to transition, I would just say, stick with it, take some risks, and out of 5 plugins you made, 3 will probably suck. But those 2, they will get you some real money. And then you can ditch a few clients. But when I say ditch, just don't burn all the bridges. And I know I do have a will to do that sometimes because people annoy me. But just don't burn every freaking bridge. Leave some standing because in the end, you're going to need those clients again. And let's say it's not polite to tell everybody to.
Well, funny enough, I know a really reliable third-party maintenance service company that you can send them to.
Yes, most definitely. Yes, the title of the podcast. Yeah. And that's something you mentioned too. It's tough when you're trying to make that transition from clients to products, and revenue is an issue. But one thing that a lot of people have told me is when you focus your attention on one subset of customers, when you niche down, that seems to help, like both when you're doing client work and developing products. What is your experience with that?
No, absolutely. It's the only way to go. But again, a very, very, very scary situation because you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, my niche is like only 50,000 people or 100, or doesn't really matter. So you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe if I broaden out just a bit to 1 million, I'll do better. No, you won't. You want the smallest subset of customers that you can actually get. But I do understand that when your income is 0 and you have 0 customers, it's very scary to think about this little group. You want to go as wide as possible. That is not good. You should stick to one thing, give it some time. And by time, I don't mean 5 days. It can be 3 or 6 months or a year. You really should stick to it. And when you stick to it, people from that niche will start to see you as the expert or authority, or call it whatever you want, and you're going to get better jobs. You can price your plugins higher, but you have to stick to it. If you do everything, then you basically don't do nothing. And I have to point out that saying, I do WordPress, you're not specialized in anything. I mean, it powers a quarter of the whole web. So how is that a niche? It's really not. It may have been, I don't know, 5 years ago, but today saying that you're specialized would be something like, I only do WooCommerce, although that is also quite a huge market. I only do easy digital downloads, or I don't know, I only fix buttons on a website. That's called being specialized. And again, it's scary, but the only way to go.
Yeah, it's very counterintuitive. When you focus tighter, it seems to bring you more business instead of less. One thing, now that you're developing plugins and you're quite successful with that, how do you position plugins to where customers are going to know that they're going to get an ROI on what they're spending? What's the whole science behind that?
Well, when it comes to white label plugins, so plugins that others are going to sell, obviously, if not only one of the only goals they have is to make money or to sell those plugins. The reason why people go the white label route instead of building something from scratch is they want to do it today. So from the point when you order a white label plugin to the point when you are ready to sell it, it's, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. And the moment you order it, you can actually have a look at it and see how it works. While if you do something custom, it may take months for you just to verify the concept and see if the developer is capable of delivering what you want and if you're on the same page. So just having something that's already done and functions is light years ahead of having an idea. Because having an idea, just fuck your idea. Ideas are a dime a dozen. You can really have 100 of those and not do anything. But that one idea, you execute it, maybe it's shitty, but you execute it, you're going to do something. So when it comes to white label plugins, people see it, they see that it works, and they make usually some small adjustments either to the way they market it or just really, really small adjustments in total in order to accustom to their customers, to adjust it to their customers. That doesn't necessarily mean that the plugin is a perfect fit or a perfect embodiment of the idea that they had, but they realize that it's better to have this semi thing that works than to have nothing that needs 6 months or a year to develop. So it basically comes down to marketing, something that I don't like and usually don't do. That's why I make less money than I could. But people that we sell to, they are very, very, very good at marketing. So they're able to take something that's perhaps not positioned perfectly initially and turn it into something that's really good. Although technically, in the core, it's absolutely the same thing. Really, I have to stress out one more time. Having something that works today is much better than having 55 perfect ideas that will work later down the road, if ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another thing. As a plugin developer, you started on the Envato marketplace, but now you're moving away and starting to launch, plugins like on your own away from that. Google Maps Widget Pro, I think, is the first of that, if I'm not mistaken. What is the Envato market like? What are the pros and cons of being on CodeCanyon versus just trying to launch your own site?
Yeah. Okay. That's an episode of its own. We can talk 5 days about that. Now, before I start shitting on Envato, I'm going to point out that I wrote an article on Envato's official blog like 5 years ago. It was titled something like, "Why is it good to give Envato 30%?" I stand behind that article today as I did 5 years ago, 100%. Giving them 30% for the job they are mostly doing is cheap. And especially 5 years ago when they were doing a lot more than they are today, giving 30% was cheap. People think that they can process a payment for 0%. That's just That's not true. That's simply not true. Okay, so when we started on Envato, I've put a little PHP script on there. I think it was the CSS switcher or something like that. Basically, it enables you to click a link and it switches the CSS in the whole site. It was like $5 or something like that. And we sold a couple of hundred in the first month. So I really didn't think we were going to sell 5, let alone 100. So I saw huge potential in that. And the potential comes from traffic, something that Envato had and still has. You can argue the quality of the traffic, people coming from states you don't want them to come, blah, blah. It's millions of people. And in this case, quantity counts, because that 1% that converts, it matters if it's 1% from 10 million or 1% from 100. So the traffic is goal here. It's the main thing on CodeCanyon and TeamForest. Obviously, TeamForest has a lot more traffic, but CodeCanyon still has a lot. Envato offers a lot. It offers, first of all, something that people don't appreciate. They offer to review your plugin. What people usually perceive is some idiot telling them that the plugin sucks. That's not true. The idiot that's reviewing your plugin for free, and it's really for free, $0, is somebody who looked at 1,000 plugins, and if he says that it sucks, that really means it sucks. So being hard rejected on CodeCanyon, that's a favor for you. So you didn't have to pay $500 for somebody to review your plugin. I'm not just talking about the code. They'll also look at the concept and tell you that, you know, we already have 17 plugins that do the same thing. We're not going to sell that. So he really saved you some time and money, and you're getting that service for free. It's the same service for people who started yesterday. It's the same service for me, and I'm an elite author, so they know me. The same people do the reviews. So there's your first $0, and you're getting something. I would say about $500 worth of services. Now, the moment you put your plugin up, it goes on the marketplace and people see it. Now, you may be thinking, well, how many people can see it? It doesn't really make a difference. A lot more than if you post it on your shitty Facebook page. A lot more. Now, besides the people that are actually on CodeCanyon and searching for something, they will eventually find your plugin. There's also a whole plethora of sites, I would say too many sites, that aggregate the CodeCanyon's RSS feed. So they mark the links as an affiliate ones, they earn their commission, but they're pushing your product. Again, you may be thinking, well, I'm going to get my affiliates. Your friends are not going to be able to push the plugin in the same way these people are. Unless, you know, you really have Bill Gates as your friend, but even then, that's not going to happen. So we are already saving a lot of money because we're not paying Envato a dime in advance. They're only taking percentage. So if we are losing money or earning zero, they are earning zero, regardless of the percentage here, whether it's 50% at start or 30% down the road. If you're making zero, they're making zero. Okay, then there's payments. That's very complicated. You may be thinking, well, what? I like take $5, I give them the license and we're done. No, we're not done. There's your cancellations, refunds, chargebacks, banks calling, credit card companies calling, everybody's calling. You're like spending 3 days a month just, you know, dealing with things that you really don't understand, and that can cost you a lot of money because chargebacks can range from $20 to $50. In your case, Envato is taking care of most of those things. So at worst case scenario, you will lose a sale that you already made. But you're not going to be bothered with some people emailing you, was this a fraudulent transaction? Who are you? Do you live in a state where you can or can't do this? It's is the person from a country that has an embargo of trading with your country. I don't know who that person is. Envato does. They deal with that. So again, something that happens behind the scenes, they do it, and that's why they get a certain percentage. The whole user interface that enables you to upload files and screenshots and the description, and you have your little last update date and everything. Again, you're getting a service for free. If you're not making money, they're not making money. You may be thinking that you can get a site up and running that has everything that I just described for $0. You cannot. Do not kid yourself. If you go down the WooCommerce or Easy Digital Downloads way, you're going to need a couple of add-ons. Those add-ons are not free. After a few add-ons, you'll already be spending like a few $100s per year for licenses. Maybe you're selling zero. So now you're not making any money, you're actually using because you paid for licenses. So Envato as a marketplace, as a service, definitely has a place. It's good in many ways, but from the get-go, they made some mistakes that didn't seem...
Yes, Gordan. But before we go into the mistakes, Gordan, let's have our commercial break, shall we, John? And then come back and find out about their terrible mistakes. What do you say, John?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, this interview is on fire, but we'll be back after the break. We're coming back from our break, and we're talking with Gordan Orlic of Web Factory Limited, and he's a successful plugin developer. He's making the transition from Envato and moving some of those onto his own site. And we're talking about Envato, just picking up where you were at.
Yeah. So the mistakes. Things are really moving forward at a huge pace. What's today is not tomorrow. And I mean, you have a new version of WordPress every 3 months. So you have to recheck your plugins, adjust. You can't be standing in the same place. And you may be thinking that, if you have a huge company, you have 100 employees, you're paying them, sit down and code some stuff, make those changes. But the problem is, the bigger you are, the bigger elephant you are, and the inertia has you, and you're moving forward, you're on a certain track. It's very difficult to go left or right. And I believe personally that that's what hit Envato. The decisions they made 5 years ago look very, very bad today. Although 5 years ago, they were good decisions. So obviously, let's change those. You can't. Or you can, but it will take a lot of time and a lot of money. The flagship mistake that was made years ago was to charge plugins and themes, the same thing, for a one-time fee that mostly implies that you are getting a lifetime of support and lifetime of updates. I know that today that sounds really ridiculous, and who would be stupid enough to even say something like that, unless you're dumping the prices of your products. But 5 years ago, the marketplace for plugins, it was barely getting started. The plugins costed like $5, $9. You didn't have plugins that costed $1.99 like today. The market evolved. So, Envato had to do the same, but they didn't. So what we have at the moment is they managed to actually push out a change that says when you purchase a plugin, you get a lifetime of updates, but support is paid yearly, so you have to renew. That was a huge step for them, but for most people like myself, it wasn't enough. Because it doesn't really matter how much you charge the plugin for initially, unless it's a few $1,000s. you can't provide somebody updates for the rest of the life, because that's just not feasible. You can't put food on the table based on that. You need recurring, continuous income in order to invest that time and money into those plugins, just to keep them, on the same level. I'm not talking about building new things. I'm talking about checking if they work with the latest version of WordPress, if everything's compatible, if they work with the latest version of Chrome or whatever. So that takes time. If you want to add new features, that obviously takes even more time, and somebody has to pay for that. Now, at the beginning, you have a lot new customers, those who, let's say, pay the one-time fee. So you're thinking to yourself, well, all of this money is coming in. There's not going to be a problem. There is going to be a problem, because in a year, the very feature that you're selling is going to be a part of WordPress core, let's say. And all of a sudden, your plugin is obsolete and nobody's buying your plugin anymore, while you still need to update it because you told people, give me $5 and I'm going to keep it alive for 50 years. So it just doesn't work like that. And I'm not blaming Envato. 5 years ago, it wasn't so evident as it is now. Now, could they be implementing changes on a, let's say, faster? Just fucking do it faster. They could. In my opinion, they're just investing resources into things that don't benefit authors. For instance, they moved their company to the States. Now, I really don't care where their company is incorporated. United Kingdom, States, Australia, I really don't care. However, I do care now because of the taxes in the States that are, politely said, complicated, and even more complicated if you don't live in the States. And all of a sudden, I have a new problem on my hands. And Envato says, oh, we invested, 10,000 man hours into this switch. I don't care. First of all, it's dull as hell. Second, I don't give a flying fuck. And third, you obviously did it to pocket some more money, or because you're planning some things ahead. Again, I really don't care. The same reason why they didn't do some other changes, because they lack resources to do everything. Nobody has resources to do everything. You need to prioritize. You can't have 76 open projects at the same time. That's just not realistic. So they focus on certain things. Until, I would say, a year and a half ago, they didn't have a responsive version of the front page. I really can't comment on that. How difficult can it be, to add 50 or 100 lines of CSS? But when you have a huge system like they do, it's obviously not a 5-minute job. But again, I feel you're not prioritizing properly, because you invested all of this time to move to the States and you didn't have 50 or 100 hours to do 100 lines of CSS. So we don't really see eye to eye. That's okay. Another big issue from the get-go was support. Even today, it's not uncommon to wait 10 days to get a response. Doesn't really matter how complicated your ticket is. If you wait a week, that's normal. Anything below a week, bravo, I say. And the thing is, they have a huge support team. But just by hiring somebody to do support, you didn't really do much. You have to hire the right people at the right time who have the right knowledge and the right training in order to be able to streamline the process so that I get the same response as you would if we ask the same question. And 5 years have passed and they just didn't fix that problem. Whatever they did, they've changed the support ticketing system backend like 5 times. Technology aside, I really don't think that your backend is to be blamed because I had to wait a week to get a response. From the get-go, support really not great. And I can assume they get like a truckload of tickets every day because they have a lot of customers. I have never sent a ticket as a customer. I always, have something as an author. But I do feel that people send tickets for things like, oh my God, my computer is on fire. Oh my God, I can't, turn on Photoshop. I do believe they get those questions. So the volume is really high, but I don't know, deal with it. That's why you're taking the 30%. All in all, getting back to my first sentence, read my article on the official blog. I truly stand behind those words that it's not a lot to give them 30%, especially now that you can set your custom prices, that you can set your custom license. The normal license and the extended license. And yeah, another thing I really do have to touch on. For 5 years, we've asked them, please add some kind of a discount for people who are buying more than one license. Because people buy my plugins, one license for each client site they make. And I thank them. That's great. But I feel that if you bought 50 licenses, you should get some kind of a volume discount. And I continuously get emails from agencies asking me, is the extended license an unlimited sites license? And then I have to say, no, it is not. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you're asking. But why is it then called extended? I don't know. I didn't name it. The extended license is used to incorporate a smaller Envato item into larger Envato items that you're going to sell on the marketplace. It's not an end user license. It's licensed for authors on Envato. Now, I understand that to a certain degree, but my clients don't, and I really don't expect them to. They just want to buy 10 licenses and get, 20% off. I can't give them that. I don't have any discount coupons. I can't change the price just for them. I could now change the price for like 5 minutes and tell them, please, please, please hurry, buy now, it's cheaper, then I'm going to set the price up again. But that's just not realistic. So for years, there has been absolutely no positive movement on this. And for many authors, what has happened, I'm not encouraging this, but it's life. People buy one license and use it on 55 sites. Now, you could enforce, one license key per site usage, and then block people off or send them emails telling them, please, buy another license, blah, blah, blah. But you didn't solve the problem. The problem was that the licensing structure is too rigid. And apart from being rigid, it's just others have those licenses. So people are accustomed to buying 5 licenses for the price of 1 or 2 or whatever. Every other marketplace has that. Why don't you? It's like simple math. You multiply the number by something and there's your new price. It's priced for 5, sites. I don't know if they're ever going to do that. They obviously have some explanations of how complicated that is or why they can't do it, blah, blah, blah. Their lawyers say that they can't. I don't care. I'm paying my 30%, and I want my multi-site licenses. rant over.
Yeah, I think that was well put, actually, Gordon. But we interviewed Pippi Williams quite a while ago. We're going to have him back. He's a friend of the show, I would say. And he started on CodeCanyon, and I think for all the reasons you just said, I think it's a great place to start because they review the plugin, their marketing. But at some stage, Pippin said that he decided that he wanted to build a brand.
Yeah, he was the first to leave. Yeah, he was one of the first people to leave. Yeah.
But building, which is understandable, if you, I would say, if you just want to be one or a small plugin development shop, I would stay with a marketplace. But if your long-term goal is to build an actual business that has branding value, that at some stage you could grow or you could sell, in the end you've got to bite the bullet. But branding a business online is a very difficult proposition than actually, which is still very difficult building a commercial plugin. It's a total different animal. So you're starting now to try and build actual brands. What led you? Was it that you just, for all the reasons you just mentioned, you just got fed up with CodeCanyon and their marketplace, or was it also you thought it was time now that you actually tried to build a branded business? Was it a bit of both?
No, it's simple. It's trivial. Income started to fall.
Oh.
So it's always about money, The amount of resources we were investing X years ago can't be compared to the amount of resources we should be investing now to get the same amount of money. So it was no longer feasible, and bye-bye. No hard feelings, but it is what it is. And I feel that we had a good start. We boarded that train while it was still on the platform. Boarding the Envato train now means that you're jumping on it while it's moving 200 miles per hour. You can't just go on Envato now and put on a great theme or plugin and expect it to do great. Because there are people there that are not a one-man shop. They have 10 employees and they sell on Envato. It may seem like it's one guy in mom's basement, but it's really, really not. And when you come as that one guy, which you could have done 5 years ago, today you're just going to be crushed. Now, I'm not saying that 1 in 1,000 plugins can do really great, but for most, you're going to have like 100 sales in a year or something like that. It's not sustainable income. And the thing is, I've seen numbers for a lot of authors. I know what kind of dollar income we're talking about. So unless you really have an established account, and you know what you're doing on Envato, it will be really difficult to board that train at this moment. And another fact to go behind that whole premise of mine, we are now at a point where you can buy Envato profiles on Flippa. So it has come to that. So you can buy an Envato profile that earns, I don't know, let's say 5,000 a month for 50,000. A few years ago, nobody has done that because the marketplace has to evolve to a certain point where you have this whole ecosystem that does things like that. And now you can go on Flippa and you can buy yourself a whole profile with, I don't know, 5 themes, 10 themes, 5 plugins. And if you think that you can manage it better than the previous owner, great. It's, the same as buying a bakery. If you can manage it, if you can put new plugins out there, you're going to make some money. So for anybody who's starting out, I would say go down that route so that you're not starting from scratch.
Or would you advise, which I've seen also, would you advise maybe to look at a popular plugin that has a micro plugin marketplace itself, like WooCommerce, because we've had some guests that have been highly successful in building what I call micro plugins that work with Gravity Forms, or they work with WooCommerce, and they sell through a marketplace that's run by a larger plugin author.
Okay, this is the same problem / not problem. When you're hitching a ride in somebody's car, it's free and it's great. You know, you can take a nap, but it's that person's car. And if he says we're making a pit stop for 5 hours, we're making a pit stop for 5 fucking hours because you're not paying anything. It's my car. So it's great to hitch behind WordPress, Gravity Form, Easy Digital Downloads, or WooCommerce. They give you that push, that instant push that you can't really pay for if you're doing something on your own. But please be aware, it's their car and their ride. So if they say, you know, your plugin sucks, we're just cutting it off, or we are including your plugin's features in the next release, tough luck. So as anything in life, you know, you gotta throw the dice and try it out.
I think that was very succinctly put, actually. I think we're going to go and finish the actual podcast, what you say, John, and then we're going into the bonus content. We're going to talk about Gordan's security plugin and what the features are and what he's up to with that particular plugin. What do you say, John?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. And you'll be able to find that bonus content just as you can find the bonus content for all of our episodes on the WP-Tonic website. Be sure to find the corresponding episode, number 143. And one thing I want to remind people too is if you're getting value from this podcast, be sure to go to iTunes, give it a review, give it a detailed review of what you're enjoying about the show, because that helps surface this podcast so other people can find it. And with that,
but before we go, John, I just like to say to the listeners, thank you for your support, because I was looking at the numbers and our growth has been quite spectacular recently, hasn't it, John?
It's been pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, we seem to be on a roll, don't we, John? I was looking at this morning, and I was a bit gobsmacked about the amount of people that are listening to this show recently. Yeah,
we got a little bit of momentum. So thank you to all our listeners. We really do appreciate it. We thank all of you, definitely. So, Gordan, how do we find you? And websites, URLs.
Well, you can visit webfactoryltd.com. There's going to be some links in the box below.
Oh yes, we're going to put all your links in.
Oh yes,
We're just asking you if people want to find out more about you, Gordan, and you've got a personal
about
blog
me.
about
I'm not that.
Oh, you're very interesting, Gordan. So, what's the best way if somebody wants to contact you, by email or Twitter?
Twitter would be best because I get too many emails, and unfortunately there have been incidents where I overlooked them, so Twitter would be best.
So what's your Twitter handle, Gordan?
Web Factory Ltd.
Right, that's the best way to get hold of him. And the best way to get hold of me, folks, is I do check my email out. I do have a problem similar to Gordan, but I try and catch all the ones with relevant questions or outreach. That's how I actually met Gordan, because he did some outreach. So if you email me at jonathan@wp-tonic.com, I will get back to you probably in a couple of days. Or a quicker way is my Twitter handle which is at Jonathan Denwood, and I normally check that every day, and I normally respond if it's a direct message or a public message to me. So how can people get hold of you, John?
Well, you can find me at my website, which is lockdowndesign.com. You can follow me on Twitter. It's lockdown_. You can go to my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/lockdowndesign.
And people really want to join us for the Saturday show that's coming, isn't it, John? Because we're going to be talking about that always popular subject, WordPress hosting, aren't we, John? And I think we've got some great guests, and I think it's going to be a bit of a different insight about WordPress hosting, isn't it, John?
Definitely. We're going to look at high-end WordPress hosting this Saturday. And that's going to be in episode 144. We're going to have Brian Lee Jackson from Kinsta.com. And then we're going to have AJ Morris from Liquid Web. So be sure to check that out.
That's great. We'll see you next time on a WP-Tonic. What do you say, John?
Get your dose.
Get your dose. See you later, folks.
Bye.
All right, bonus content time.
Bonus content time, Gordan. So tell us about your security plugin, what your plans are for, and you're up against some stiff competition with iThemes and a couple of other well-established plugins. So what do you think you offer, and what your plans for the security plugin?
Okay, so we offer more by offering less. Our plugin does not have 76 buttons and a 5 megabyte PDF manual. And it also doesn't do anything on your site. So
I'm disappointed, Gordan. No 5 megabyte PDF manual. I'm disappointed, Gordan.
So it started as a report-only tool. You have one button. You click the button, and it performs about 40-something tests on your site. Each test is color-coded. It tells you what you did good, what you did wrong. And it gives you a simple way of fixing that. But I do stress out, it does not touch your site in any way, shape, or form. Now, for those of you thinking about why the hell would I give money for something that doesn't fix a problem? I personally don't like plugins that mess up my site. No, they have those fix-it-all buttons. You click one button, they do it all. I don't know what they did. I don't trust you. So I made a tool for myself that obviously other people like as well. We report what we think is wrong. You can review it. You can even think we're stupid, not a problem. And you can fix those things that you feel that should be fixed. Now, that's the core of Security Ninja.
And I love it, Gordan, because I will be trying it. I've been a bit ill and I've been a bit rushed, but what I love about it is they're going to hire a really quality WordPress service company probably to sort out their problems, aren't they, Gordan? Hopefully.
Yeah, and to implement those changes by people who know what they're doing.
Yes, that would be useful, wouldn't it? Don't want to take your site down, do you?
So the core of Security Ninja is free, and it's available on the WordPress repository. Just Google Security Ninja. Now, the add-ons that you have to pay for provide some additional features. For instance, the core scanner. Again, one button. You click the button, and we compare all of your core files with the master repository from WordPress. If even one file is changed by 1 byte, we tell you this file has been changed. Maybe you changed it. Maybe somebody else did. I don't know. But we tell you that this file has been modified, and it's up to you to look at it, restore it, delete it, or do whatever you want. The next module is the events logger. Again, something that I did for myself, because clients often called me and say, it died. I didn't touch it. So for years, I would say, I know it's technology. But now I say, You did touch it because the event logger says you were in there and you clicked 7 times on the delete button. So then people shut up and they
These
pay me.
terrible clients, they actually log into their own websites. It's shocking.
And delete things, yeah, and then expect me to undelete.
It's shocking, isn't it, Gordan? I think it's terrible myself. But
So if you
I rely on it, though, Gordan. I rely on their little mistakes. I'm sorry.
So if you have people that deny clicking the delete button, you need the events logger because you're going to see what they did and when they did it, and then you can bill them for an hour it took you to undelete that. Then we have the malware scanner. It goes through all of your themes and plugins and searches for certain code patterns. Now, as the plugin says, there are a lot of false positives by doing those scans. Just because we highlight a certain part of a file, it does not mean that it's malicious or bad or that you should delete it. It's just something that you should look into. Yeah. And that concept follows the concept of the whole security ninja thing, is that you should use your brain or hire somebody else who has a brain and not just, click on buttons that do things and then you get a white screen. And last module is the schedule scanner. It performs everything on its own every few days and sends you an email if things go south. For many people, this is not for them. For many people, you don't use Security Ninja if you just started with WordPress, unless you are a bit curious. You should use some other plugin or hire people to fix your site. But for those who want to understand how things work and want to look under the skin and want to learn something and perhaps even break the site and then restore it again, look into Security Ninja, have a look at the 40 tests we have. Have a look at all of the bad passwords you have been using, because we do have a brute force simulator in there. We check for about 500 most frequently used passwords. And you wouldn't believe how many people have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or, such low quality passwords. But we scan all of your profiles, all of your accounts. And if you have other people on that WordPress installation, you can tell them, change your bloody password, you're gonna get us hacked. So it's not for everybody, but it is for some people.
That's really, Gordan was really kind enough to give me a discount code. I haven't taken it up yet, but I hope to try it out on a couple of my own sites then. But it does really sound fantastic, actually, and hopefully I'm going to find the time to do a good write-up on it. But I've got to try it out first, and which I do plan to do. But you explained it really well, Gordan, and I now understand it's really got its own niche, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does. And again, I did this for myself. Now, for people thinking, why didn't you ever did a button that says fix everything and you click it and it fixes everything? Because there is no such button. It will fix things on certain sites and it will completely break other sites. And I just didn't want to do that. I wanted a button that really works and not something that works sometimes. And I feel that other security plugins that are or are not my competition, they're so bloated that even people like me, I do understand a few things. When I go into their admin panels, I need that PDF. There's a reason it exists, because there's so many options and so many things to click and so many people to ban, and there's a lot of things going on. And I feel that people who just started out, who don't necessarily have the background to distinguish, what an IP address is, or what a NS record is, or what does it mean a whitelist approach or a blacklist approach. They don't know all of those technical terms, and it's applied that they should if they want to use those complicated plugins. And in the end, they mess a few things up. Okay, that's a learning curve. They have to undo it. But I wanted to do something different, and I did. And I think that people are enjoying it. The plugin was actually a premium one on CodeCanyon. Then we took it off and put it as a free one on the repository. So you can also do that for people who are thinking, what can I do with my plugins from CodeCanyon? How can I get more customers? Well, put it on the repository. If you have good keywords, if people are searching for those kind of plugins, you're gonna get new customers. Really not a problem.
Oh,
But again, you are driving in your friend's car. And when the friend says we're making a pit stop, or in this case, the friend says your plugin is not good for the repo, bye-bye, there's nothing you can do. It's
yeah, but
bye-bye.
Gordan, I'm English, so we're very polite. So we would never stop for 5 hours without asking the permission of our free-paying hitchhiker. We'd probably go out of our way to fit into their needs. But, we are English. So, but I don't know if Americans would do that. What do you reckon, John?
Nah, Americans are rude.
Yeah, you just
We just do whatever we want.
Yeah, we're stopping for 5 hours. So, so to finish off, you said all of it's been fantastically interesting, but I thought there was one key thing you said near the end, that it was just about money. That CodeCanyon you felt were going in the wrong direction, and the financial figures were showing you that. What are some of the key things that you feel? Was it all the things that you listed in the second half of our recorded podcast for iTunes? Was it the things that they're doing, or is it just the level of competition on the marketplace that's making it more and more expensive for you to get the same return?
Well, it's a snowball effect. They make one little change and you say, yeah, doesn't matter. Then they make another small little change, yeah, doesn't matter. But after a fifth small little change, it's no longer one little small change, it's a problem. So things accumulated over time. Basically, the revenue went down and the amount of time that they expected us to invest was going up. So I just really didn't see a way to get back on track as we were a few years ago. For instance, if somebody did a fraudulent transaction on Envato and bought our plugin with a stolen credit card, till a few years ago, Envato ate those costs. So we would still get the money and they would refund the bank. So all of a sudden, they decided they can't handle those costs anymore and that the authors should pay for the refunded purchase. Now, I don't think that's unfair, but it's a change that takes money out of my pocket because that's a refund that I can't control. Another thing, they were handling all of the legitimate refunds till about 6 months ago. Now we have to handle that. So for everybody thinking, well, why are you being such a stickler? It's like you click refund, don't refund, cancel, deny, abort, whatever. Well, yeah, but if you're making a couple of tens of sales per day, it's no longer one button. It's one email per day. You have to reply. You have to be polite. You have to see what the customer wants. You maybe want to, persuade them not to take a refund. And 15 minutes a day at the end of the month, who's paying for that? Me, obviously. So all of those little things were adding up. Plus the amount of items on the marketplace is getting unruly. I really don't care what the actual number is. It's just when you search for something, you get hundreds and hundreds of plugins. Now, if your plugin has a track record that's good and people have rated it and bought it and it's good, you are on top-ish, you know, but still you can't always guarantee to be on top. So you get lost in that huge number. And when you launch something new, then your plugin is as shitty as everything else, 0 sales, 0 reviews. So when somebody searches for it, you're on the 5th page, basically like you don't exist. And they said a few times that they will be removing items that haven't been updated in X years, months, whatever. But they never actually did that. On one hand, okay, because some items just don't need to be updated as frequently as others. But on the other hand, there's really a ton of shitty items up there that should be removed because it's just fluff. It just serves the purpose of you being able to say, we have 7 million plugins on the marketplace. Yeah, but out of those 7 millions, 5 million sucks. So they should really clean up a bit and remove. I'm not getting into percentages. I'm not saying that they should remove 50% or 5% or whatever. They should just do some house cleaning and housekeeping. And then better plugins would be able to surface in search again, and you would be able to sell more. Now, another thing that happened as the marketplace evolved. In the beginning, I thought, and many others, that the 30% we were paying was enough of a marketing fee or investment for our plugins. These days, people invest thousands of dollars outside of Envato in order to promote things on Envato. So, you have to follow the game, make the switch, invest some money. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to promote my friend's car.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons is that, and I'm going to put this in a 5-word sentence, but people still will not be able to understand it. When a person purchases an item on Envato, they are not your customers. They are Envato's customers. The implication of that, there are many implications, but the number one implication of that is that you do not have the right nor the technical means to contact the customers. Specifically for me, that means that I do not have a mailing list of 30,000 people that purchased something at some point and would probably want to purchase more. I do not have that list. I fucked myself with help from Envato. That's on me. But it's important to understand that investing in marketing is basically investing in Envato, not in your items. It's the same thing as people who earn money from referrals on Envato. They only give you money from the first purchase. So when you get them a new customer and he buys a $5 plugin, you get 30% of that, $1.50. But if tomorrow he purchases a theme that's worth $1.99, you get $0.
Oh dear.
And their referral program hasn't moved from that terrible concept from the get-go. Why?
Well, it's not too terrible for them, though, isn't it, Gordan?
They're doing great. Why would they, touch it?
Why would they change? I think, Gordan, we're going to come to the end of our bonus content, but in the new year, we're going to have you back because it's been a fascinating discussion, folks. And I think we're going to have Gordan back in the new year sometime. What do you say, John?
Definitely. I think this is, I think, one of the best episodes I think we've had.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to finish our bonus content, folks, and join us for the Saturday show and for the bonus content. We'll see you next week. What do you say, John?
I say peace out.
Peace out.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.